Good afternoon, Quasar Markets Live, and Happy New Year to those that haven't joined us so far. So happy to have Agnieszka Wood, our trading mindset coach, here with us again. Happy New Year, Agnieszka. How are you doing today?
Happy New Year. For me, as I mentioned to you a little earlier, it feels like the new year has been already for a long time, but I'm doing really well, really well.
That's
So Happy New Year
fantastic.
to you.
You're right. It does feel like, even though it's only been 6 days, I feel like it's been dog years. We've already done a month, it feels like. Um,
Yeah.
and I think part of that is just all the information overload right now. I mean, you can't go a minute without a tweet from either the incoming president. I mean, today, the Prime Minister of Canada stepping down. I mean, just big news everywhere you turn around, right?
Yeah, it has been happening a lot. And, I try to kind of get my news on demand and keep my focus on things I want to do. And I always want to do a lot. And somehow, beginning of the year is always that moment where, like, okay, now I don't know, it's just that feeling of like, now it's the beginning, we can do so much more.
Yeah, you know what? I have to ask you though, is that something that you warn your traders about? Is don't try to do everything in one day because I see it. I see it in the chats in different places. People are just ready to like, okay, it's time to turn the corner, and now I'm gonna go rush in and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, because it feels like, okay, whatever happened happened in last year, and now it's new world, right? And now I have all these new opportunities and new chances to make it. So you're starting with a clean slate, which is good, but it is a very artificial split. So in a way, you think you're starting with a clean slate, but if you haven't really done the mental work,
I was gonna say, if you still
those
bring
days
the
are
baggage
still
with
bad.
you, if all you've
Yeah,
done is tucked it a
exactly.
little further in your pocket, maybe that isn't the
Exactly.
best. And that's why I do
Yeah.
think I love talking to you about a lot of this stuff because one of the things that you and I always talk about when we talk about things is how you are a coach and that you coach people to bring out the excellence from within, so to speak, as opposed to being an educator. And I think it's really an
Right.
important sort of distinction to bring out.
Mhm.
And if you could talk a little bit about that and how you do, I was looking at some of the reviews that you have on your website that I have up here, and they're amazing. And I agree with them. As you know, I am a huge fan of your program and
Thank
use
you.
your tools every day in my trading and my life now. And they really become integrated. I'll be honest with you, in a short amount of time, and I think for me, that's helped me get into the new year because I haven't looked at it. That arbitrary sort of split hasn't come into my mindset because I'm following the routines that you started putting me into getting into the good habits.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see, I assume that we all have answers within. That's the first thing. And I am not any better than any other trader. I have gone through the same struggles, and I still, despite the fact that I might have more resilience and I have built, mastered the mental skills, I still get confronted with the same challenges and every other trader. It's not like, oh, the market stopped triggering me. It's just that I can handle it better and I know how to regulate my emotion and I know how not to get into that, emotional roller coaster. So I assume that people have the knowledge because I mean, there are so many traders that have watched many more YouTube videos and read more books than I did. So I am
Right.
not here to tell you how it is because it is really different for everyone, for everybody, depending on your experience, etc. And I'm not talking about trading experience, I'm talking about life experience.
Sure.
And what happens is that it is just not easy for ourselves to look at ourselves, right?
Right.
Because when you're doing silly things, it's confronting. And market is like a mirror. Market really puts a mirror in front of you and it confronts you with yourself. And it is just like when people have a relationship with their children, the more alike your child is to you, the more you see your failures in the child, and the worse the relationship becomes.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
what happens with when you start seeing yourself in a mirror and see things you rather don't see about yourself, that's where you say, oh, you know what, I don't want to look at that. Let me just look at some new strategy. Let me just get some new indicator, etc. So you don't want to look inside. So what I do is I actually help people to look inside, but without that, and yes, sometimes it is confronting, but with compassion and with love, just to kind of, instead of saying, hey, you did this, just to take that picture of, hey, look, these are the patterns that are playing, and this is how you can connect the dots. And it's
Right.
just so much easier for people to look at that from that perspective and say, oh, so this is why I'm acting like this. There is nothing wrong with me. These are just some patterns I have taken from my past and how my nervous system reacts. It's just so much easier to do that. That's why I like coaching, because there's so much information already there. And if you have a question, go to ChatGPT and it will give you all the answers you want. So
That's
I
right.
really that's really not something I'm passionate about. I'm more passionate about connecting the dots. So when you give me a story, I hear the story behind it. I hear something deeper, what is really going on, and that's what really makes me tick.
Yeah, and and that's what so many traders do need, and what I've noticed is what I didn't do this year, like you said, is I didn't have this huge reflective end of year because I'm looking at my daily tracker that I have from you, my habit sheet, and I'm seeing what am I doing on a regular basis that's helping me succeed or holding me back? What am I not maybe
Right.
doing? Or what am I doing that holds me back? Because sometimes too much information, like you just said,
Yeah.
is not necessarily good. Um,
Yeah.
so I do think that I do want to point out, I know you have a huge week ahead of you here. So I thank you
Yeah.
so much for spending your time
Of
with
course.
us. And I have already put in the description on YouTube and on Quasar Markets. You have two huge events this week. And the first one,
Yeah.
if you could talk a little bit about your webinar on Wednesday night.
Yes. So you see, the trading edge is something that really made a difference in my trading, and not just trading, in my life. And even though it's trading edge, it really has to do a lot with how you show up as a human being at your trading desk and in your life, about integrity, how you respect yourself, your own boundaries, how do you make decisions that are in your best interest or not, because most traders don't act in their best interest. So
Exactly.
what I'm going to do on Wednesday is actually share the process that I have used that helped me to find my edge in trading. So of course I will be talking about what the trading edge is, because a lot of traders, they know they need an edge, but they look at it in all the wrong places, because it's
Right.
really
They think
not
the edge is
very
following
clear.
somebody on YouTube's trade or strategy as opposed
Yeah,
from looking
exactly.
within to develop your own trading strategy, your own
Yeah,
things that make you work. You and I have talked about it because we do have very different trading styles and sort of where we
right,
tend to put our money and invest. You're more on the S&P larger stocks. I'm more on those
right,
penny stocks and smaller sort of tech, areas where I think maybe that I know
right.
something that others don't. So I do think it's important that you have to figure out what works for you. I know it took me a long time, and that's I really see it here at Quasar because every day I'm with Steve, who has a very different trading style than me, has a very different circumstance within his life of the way he trades, and that. So it
Yeah.
takes a while to understand. Not just you look for what makes people successful as opposed to try to copy. I guess would be what I sort of take away
Yeah.
also.
Because you see, with trading edge, it is that it has really two components, right? It has the strategy. I mean, if you have a strategy that has a positive expectancy, that's what you need. That's fantastic. That's just mad. But then if you cannot follow it, it's completely useless,
Absolutely, and that's where you've
because you
really
have
helped
to be
me.
able to
Is
follow
and I just had a
consistently.
success with it with MicroStrategy, where my belief is still that MicroStrategy is going to be the benefactor from this Bitcoin strategy that they're doing and all this. And there's going to
Hmm.
be ups and downs, and I took a little hit, And before I probably would have started doubting myself and had, capitulated out of it just before it turned around as it has. And now, it's recovered it up
Yes.
pretty much. I'm already up from where I had bought in. It's not at its all time highs, but I think it will head that way. So, I have to thank you for that. And it really is learning yourself is the biggest thing, is what are the triggers that sometimes cause us to make these errors again and again, even though we should know better.
Right, right. Because, it's like you have to understand what environment you're operating in. If you don't, you are just gonna get whacked because it, it's really very simple. If you want to become a pilot, you cannot have a fear of flying, right?
Absolutely.
That's just like out of question. So if you are trying to become a successful trader, but you come bring to the table all your fears. Maybe you're scared of losing money, or you have like all that baggage we were talking about that is making you react constantly from the survival instinct. This is
Right.
gonna be a rough ride. I mean, I've been there. I
Yeah,
know
we all
what
have. I
could
mean,
trigger
that's,
me. Yeah,
those are the days I don't wish to relive for sure. People talk very
I know.
wax poetically about their early days and whatever it might be. I don't look back for those early days in
Yeah,
trading.
and you know what really sometimes makes me frustrated is that because everyone goes through it, now the new traders that are coming in, they think that's normal. And they think that they have to go through it and they need to go through it. And I'm like, no, you just need to prepare yourself so that you don't have to go through it. Like,
Right.
why don't you want to learn on those mistakes from other people? Yes, of course, you will have to get used to losing, etc. But you don't have to, like when you're coming in with your baggage, that part you can really skip. And this is the part, the time that I am saving people by
Right.
helping them to release it first before they can become consistent. That's why it takes so little time, like 12 weeks, to get from the failing cycle and start making consistent profit, because I'm taking the time where you think, okay, you know what? No, I like everyone gets stuck. So I need to get stuck first too. It's like,
Right.
no,
Yeah, no,
make
you don't have to
sure
lose to
that you,
win.
yes, exactly. Like losing is part of trading, but it doesn't mean that you have to hit the rock bottom first. The point is to prepare yourself and be able to adapt to those conditions before this even happens. Because otherwise, what is the point? You know what I mean? It's like, and even when you hit the rock bottom, most traders stop or keep putting money in and losing it. It does not guarantee you the success. That's not the thing.
Right. Absolutely. As we all say, the past performance doesn't mean that future,
Exactly.
is going to repeat itself. We all look at
And
patterns, we all look for the
yes.
edge,
And I'm
but
so I'm so happy you say that, because that works both ways. Because people always think like, oh, it's about the profits. No, it's also about the losses. The
right.
fact that you lost yesterday and the day before, doesn't mean you have to lose today. But the problem is that we human beings, we have this part of the brain that's very good developed where we memorize our failures. Our
Yeah,
successes
and
too,
repeat
but
them.
failures way more.
Yeah.
And then yeah, if we wouldn't remember that we lost money yesterday, we would trade much better today.
Yeah, and it's so true how many times we let a past trade influence our next trade,
Mm,
and how one loser becomes many losers. And again, that
exactly.
goes to the systems and the checks and balances that you sort of put in place with your clients. Because I can tell you from the forms that I use, the habit tracker and stuff, it gives me all of the information. We all know the information, but the way that you put it in front of me makes it very easy to act upon. And
Yes,
that's
and
where I
that's
would say
that's
is the
I think
difference.
yes, and I think that's what that's why people do come to me, and that's why people do finish the program and with a success, because it's really the point is to make the knowing from the knowledge, not just having the knowledge and not being able to use it. And I don't know that skill. I remember I've had it for many, many years, and I just like doing it. Like
Absolutely.
when I was much younger, every time I would read a book, the very first thought that was popping up in my head was like, how can I bring this? How can I put this in such a way so that I can teach that to people? So that was my, when I was
Oh,
like
okay.
20 something, I was always reading books with like, oh, I need to present this in a way that it will be really much better understandable for people, or like, oh, this is cool for some kind of exercise or something. So I think I had that always.
You always meant to be a coach. You already knew.
I mean, it's funny because when my mom told me, like few months ago, or maybe a few years ago, when I became a coach, she said, when you were 3 years old, or 4 years old, you were playing a teacher every day. You had a
Oh, that's
blackboard,
funny.
and you were putting your dolls and your bears, and that was
Oh,
your
that's
class,
so
and you were
funny.
teaching a class. I'm like, really? I don't even remember this.
That's funny. So you've always done it. And I don't want to miss out. You also have an open house on Saturday that you talked about.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Well, so as you know, I run a group program, which is
Yeah.
very exclusive because I accept only 12 people into the program at the time. And I am opening this week enrollment again. So I can get 12 more people into the program for the next 3 months
Awesome.
and work with them really closely. And on Saturday, I will be doing the open house so that people can learn what's included, how is it going to look,
Awesome.
all the
So if
things
the
that
people are
they can
interested,
expect.
maybe have already done and have been watching with us, have done the free guides and the emails that you
Yeah,
send out already, this would be that next step if you want to get the in-person, you know,
exactly. Yeah,
relationship with Agnieszka that I
yeah,
recommend that is going to help you, especially if you've seen, like I have, the change in your trading as you've adopted some of these techniques and,
right.
the tools that you give. You can tell that, well, you might have only been doing this for a few years, that you have put so much time and effort. You make everything very simple to see, and you do it in a way, what I would say too, you don't overwhelm me when I get your
No,
email or I see your stuff. It gives me one, two, maybe three things to think about that are just sort of, not, I don't have to spend hours doing it, but a few minutes allows me to really maximize, my day. So I do think
yeah,
for all of my viewers, I do want to let them know about that it isn't, because I think that scares traders too. Is sometimes traders think that you might be coming in like a psychologist to the point that you want to get in the person's mind and put your hands all in there and do that. That isn't what your systems and your program are
no,
about. It's more about the
no,
positive reinforcement that I've seen. It's about developing and, like you said, allowing or teaching someone to look at what they're doing and then making an actionable change to better your results
right,
from it.
right. And I put a lot of coaching, like personal attention and coaching into the program because um, so yes, people get content, but again, it's a step by step. So I don't drop everything on you all at once.
Yeah,
I
because that
guide
can
you every
overwhelm the
week.
trader.
I mean, people have lives, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
People
It's
have
funny,
daily
we joke
lives.
about it, but there are so many courses that aren't like that I've seen that, if you don't spend 50, 60 hours in the first 2 weeks, then you're going to be
Yeah,
behind and you're not going to be able to understand the
right,
Greeks or, how that option chain works or whatever it might be. So
right.
that's what I loved, is that this allowed me to spend 20, 30 minutes maybe in a day and get actionable results like that I saw. It wasn't just in my trading, it's in my life, like the balance, get, because you do,
Awesome.
and I want to stress that to the viewers. You're not a person that says you should be in front of your computer 23 hours a day. In fact, you would be very adamant that that isn't the way to trade successfully, right?
Right. Yeah, my biggest philosophy in life and in trading is less is more. And with
Yeah.
that philosophy, I just did evaluations, and I closed my year with 62% win. I think for the hours that I spend in front of the computer, this is a great return on investment. Let's put it that
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely.
And it's like when you become a trader, you want to have freedom, right? So do not make yourself someone who is chained to the computer the whole day.
Right. I couldn't
That's not
agree
what we're looking
more.
for, right?
I
Yeah.
find that
So
I
and
see
and
the
that's good
market
that
better when I step away sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, but that's with everything, you know. It's better perspective when you take a step back, right? When you're not in the middle, like caught up with in everything. And yeah, I really make it a point that people who are in my group, that I work with them very closely, that they have access to me pretty much throughout those 3 months. They have access to me 24/7. I can also say,
Right.
because that's where I put my attention to, and I want those results. I want you to succeed, and make sure that you are on track without spending 50 hours a week.
Right. No,
And
I
there
mean
is
that's
nothing really to learn, like, in itself. There is not a content you have to like learn by heart, and these are all very practical things. And because of the background of NLP that I used to develop that course and to run the course, a lot of things are happening really on the subconscious level. So you attend the class, we do exercises, we talk, and then a lot of insights are just changes are happening while
right.
sometimes while you sleep, I would say, right? Or
Absolutely.
while
No, I know what you mean by
while you
that
walk.
is exactly. And one of the things that I'm doing better is making sure that I am sleeping better and getting a good night's sleep. And what I've done is, I'll tell you, is taking that even to a step where I wake up a little later every day now, because I realized that a half hour extra that I was doing in the morning was actually hurting me because I was tired. By the time I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
to 12, 1 o'clock, I was already yawning. And that extra 20 minutes is a huge difference for me. So that was a change
yeah,
that I saw from your tracker where it said, did you get a good night's sleep, yes or no? And what I saw is I was much better at trading when I was lucid.
yeah. Yeah, and that's really that self-knowledge. I mean, we have this computer in our head, but we are also physical beings. So this all has to work like a well-oiled machine. You cannot just push yourself and push and push and push, because with that, even in life, you see that people get overwhelmed, they get burnout, and yeah, at some point your body and your brain will say, oh no. So if you see that your performance is not at the level where you want it to be, there's probably something wrong you're doing, and maybe it's time to kind of take a little step back and see, okay, so what is happening here, instead of pushing even more.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to let that be our final thought of the day. I know that
Okay.
you have a lot to get ready for this week, but I also think that's one of the most important is it's not about more is better sometimes. It's about better is
Yeah.
better. And
The
sometimes
quality over quantity, for sure.
I love it. So that's going to be our quote of the day. Thank you so much again, Agnieszka. We'll see you on
Thank you for having
Wednesday.
me.
Have a fantastic day. And to Quasar Markets, we'll see you back at 1 o'clock with Scott Bauer from Prosper Trading.
Thank you.